Preface of Pomona's Travels, a series of letters to the mistress of Rudder Grange from her former handmaiden, by Frank R. Stockton. Read for LibriVox.org into the public domain. Pomona's Travels. This series of letters, written by Pomona of Rudder Grange to her former mistress, Euphemia, may require a few words of introduction. Those who have not read the adventures and experiences of Pomona in Rudder Grange should be told that she first appeared in that story as a very young and illiterate girl, fond of sensational romances, and with some out-of-the-way ideas in regard to domestic economy and the conventions of society. This romantic orphan took service in the Rudder Grange family, and as the story progressed she grew up into a very estimable young woman, and finally married Jonas, the son of a well-to-do farmer. Even after she came into possession of a husband and a daughter, Pomona did not lose her affection for her former employers. About a year before the beginning of the travels described in these letters, Jonas's father died and left a comfortable little property, which placed Pomona and her husband in independent circumstances. The ideas and ambitions of this eccentric but sensible young woman enlarged with her fortune. As her daughter was now going to school, Pomona was seized with the spirit of emulation, and determined, as far as was possible, to make the child's education an advantage to herself. Some of the books used by the little girl at school were carefully and earnestly studied by her mother, and as Jonas joined with hearty goodwill in the labours and pleasures of this system of domestic study, the family standard of education was considerably raised. In the quick-witted and observant Pomona the improvement showed itself principally in her methods of expression, and although she could not be called at the time of these travels an educated woman, she was by no means an ignorant one. When the daughter was old enough she was allowed to accept an invitation from her grandmother to spend the summer in the country, and Pomona determined that it was the duty of herself and husband to avail themselves of this opportunity for foreign travel. Accordingly, one fine spring morning, Pomona, still a young woman, and Jonas, not many years older, but imbued with a semi-pathetic complacence beyond his years, embarked for England and Scotland, to which countries it was determined to limit their travels. The letters which follow were written in consequence of the earnest desire of Euphemia to have a full account of the travels and foreign impressions of her former handmaiden. Pruned of dates, addresses, signatures, and many personal and friendly allusions, these letters are here presented as Pomona wrote them to Euphemia. End of preface. Read by Sibella Denton. All LibriVox files are in the public domain. For more information, please visit LibriVox.org. Letter number 1 of Pomona's Travels, a series of letters to the mistress of Rudder Grange, from her former handmaiden, by Frank R. Stockton. Read for LibriVox.org into the public domain. Letter number 1. Wanted, a Vicarage, London. The first thing Jone said to me when I told him I was going to write about what I saw and heard was that I must be careful of two things. In the first place, I must not write a lot of stuff that everybody ought to be expected to know, especially people who have travelled themselves, and in the second place, I must not send you my green opinions, but must wait until they were seasoned, so that I can see what they are good for before I send them. But if I do that, said I will get tired of them long before they are seasoned, and they will be like a bundle of old sticks that I wouldn't offer to anybody. Jone laughed at that, and said I might as well send them along green, for after all, I wasn't the kind of a person to keep things until they were seasoned to see if I liked them. That's true, said I. There's a great many things, such as husbands and apples, that I like a good deal better fresh than dry. Is that all the advice you've got to give me? For the present, said he, but I dare say I shall have a good deal more as we go along. All right, said I, but be careful you don't give me any of it green. Advice is like gooseberries, that's got to be soft and ripe, or else well cooked and sugared, before they're fit to take into anybody's stomach. Jone was standing at the window of our sitting-room when I said this, looking out into the street. As soon as we got to London we took lodgings in a little street running out of the Strand, for we both want to be in the middle of things so long as we are in this conglomerate town, as Jone calls it. He says, and I think he is about right, that it is made up of half a dozen large cities, 10 or 12 towns, at least 50 villages, more than 100 little settlements, or hamlets, as they call them here, and about 1,000 country houses scattered along round the edges, and over and above all these are the inhabitants of a
Sample complete. Ready to continue?